Welcome back, Renegades. Today we're going to do a deck profile for Monkey D. Luffy from the starter deck 13. It's a black and yellow leader, 4 life, 5,000 power. Per the rules, your face-up life cards will be sent to the bottom of your deck instead of your hand. Has an ability Dawn times 2. Activate main once per turn. You may discard 1 card from your hand. If your life is at 0 cards, you may add up to 2 5-cost characters from your hand or trash to your life face up. So, keynote here, you can add it from your hand as well. Black Yellow Luffy's been no stranger to the meta since it came out last spring. It's a fun deck. Um, it's hard sometimes when the deck doesn't want to work in your favor, but the deck seems to find a way. This is a list that I found that did a most recent top event, but I did do some gameplay videos of it for the meta leaders. I'll be getting those up shortly in the next couple days following this deck profile. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share the videos. If you like them, your friends may like them too. So let's get into this. We're going to run 4 copies of Kuzan from OP09. It's a 4-drop, 5,000 power, 0 counter, but it has on play, draw 1 card, and when attacking, give up to one of your opponent's characters -4 to their cost during this turn. This wasn't in the original list when Black Yellow Luffy first made its debut, but it's been being added a lot more these days. It's a very good card, good tech card. It pairs well with some of the other cards in the deck, which we'll go over as we get there. We are running 1 copy of Kuzan, the 10 drop from OP02, the secret rare. It's a 10 drop, 10,000 power, former Navy, no counter. Your turn, all of your opponent's characters get -5 to their cost, and then it has it on play, which you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 0. This card is more of a tech choice. It's not in every list. It's a hit or miss. If you don't like it or you don't have it, feel free to swap it out with something else. On the list that I copied and have been running for the gameplay videos had it, so yeah, it's a card. You can pitch it to Luffy if you need to. Alright, moving on, we got 4 copies of Sabo. This is a staple for the deck from OP04. It's a 5-drop, 6,000 power with 1k counter. It does have blocker, and on play, your characters cannot be KO'd by card effects until the start of your next turn, and then draw 2, trash 2. So keynote with Sabo, when he comes down, he protects what's already on the field. He won't protect anything that comes down after him. So just make sure you're sequencing your plays correctly so that he can give the max board coverage for you. Staple to the deck, key piece, keeping you alive in the end game. Yep, not much more to say about him. He's pretty good. Moving on, we got 4 copies of Gecko Moria from OP06. No stranger to black decks, and this is probably one of the best decks he's in because it definitely holds the deck together. It's an 8-drop, 9,000 power, no counter. Has on play, choose up to 1 cost 4 or less and up to 1 cost 2 or less character cards from your trash. Play one of them, then play the remaining rested. So make sure when you're targeting them in the discard that you pick the one that you want to be readied as your first pick, and then the second one will be rested. Most of the time you're just grabbing little Sabo or little Luffy, but there is occasions where you'll be grabbing the next card if needed. And that's Nami from Starter Deck 14. We're running 2 copies here. It's a 3-drop, 2,000 power, 1k counter. This is kind of a tech card. It's been added to deck lists more recently. It has blocker. And on play, if you have a character with a cost of 8 or more, and you have 6 or less cards in hand, you get to draw a card. So when you bring it back from the trash with Gecko, it will use the ability. As long as you have 6 or less cards in hand, you'll get to draw one. Like I said, this is a tech card. It's not in every list, but it is an option, and I don't mind it. It's a blocker. It's a cheap blocker that you can just absorb a hit with, bring it back with Gecko. So it does have usefulness. Moving next, we're running 4 copies of Charlotte Flampy from EV01. This is kind of a dual-purpose card. It's a 1-drop, 1,000 power, but it has 2k counter. That's the first purpose. Second purpose is on play. You may add one card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand and draw a card. So a lot of times your opponent, sorry, will try to starve your life because once your leader gets to zero is when your leader becomes the strongest. So they'll try not to like attack into your life until they've got their board where they can kind of one shot you. So this is an option where you can play it down, get that card from your life, and then you get to draw a card to help you get closer to your leader effect. Kind of the same purpose of this one, another dual purpose card. It's Kazuki Hayori. Sorry, 1 second. Kazuki Hayori. Sorry, guys. It's a 2 drop, 2000 power from OP06. Has on play, you may put the top or bottom card of your life pile into your hand. Put up to one card from your hand on top of your life pile. So, dual purpose, like I said, it's a 2K counter most of the time, but you can play this out to put one of your big Savos or big Luffys from your hand on top of your life and then play out a little kid just in case. It's just another way to like kind of combo out with the deck outside of Gecko. So don't be afraid to use it. It is a 2K, but if you can get your chain going, just deploy it. Put an ace or a Luffy or Sabo on top. Play the corresponding little one, and get your leader effect to a 7K. Because surprisingly, a 7K leader is still pretty hard to swing into for your opponent. Up next, we're running 4 copies of OP07 Monkey D Luffy. Rocket Luffy, as most people call it. It's a 5 drop, 6000 power with a 1K counter. Has activate main. You may place this character into your trash. If your life is 2 or less, KO up to one of your opponent's cost 4 or less characters, and then draw a card. It does have a trigger ability from life that you can KO up to one of your opponent's cost 4 or less characters. Key takeaway about this card is a couple things. One, it kind of syncs up with the Kuzan, giving something -4 and the other Kuzan. So this can help you get rid of bigger threats because the cost reduction. Now, when using it on the Sims, you can place this card in the trash. It will allow you to do that, but you won't get the second effect unless your life is 2 or less. So just make sure that you're at 2 or less life when you try to do that, because the game will let you trash it, but you won't get the effect of removing KOing an opponent's cost 4 or less. So I've done that a couple times on the Sims. So just keep that in mind. But it's one of the main targets for the deck with the little Luffy. So up next, we're going to go into the other Luffy, and then we'll go back to the rest of the deck. So over here, we have 4 copies of Monkey D. Luffy from Starter Deck 13. This is the one that came in the starter deck with Black Yellow Luffy. It's a 5 drop, 6000 power, 1K counter. Has activate main once per turn. This character gets plus 2000 power until the start of your next turn. Then if you have 1 or more life, draw a card and trash the top card of your life. So this right here helps clean up your life if you got a stray life that you need to get your leader effect going. And also when you're at 0 life, you can give this a 2000 power boost to make it an 8K. So even if you have 0 life, you can still activate this effect to give the 2000. Alright, so moving over here, we have the little Sabo, the 4 copies of Starter Deck 13 Sabo. I'm going to go over this one and Luffy together because they do the exact same stat line, same everything. This one's for Sabo. This one's for Luffy. So activate main. You may trash this character. You reveal the top card of your life. If the card is a 5 cost Sabo or a 5 cost Luffy in this case, you may play it. If you play it, up to one of your leaders get 2000 power to start of your opponent's turn. To the end of your opponent's turn. So the end of it. So this one and this one is our way to make our leader really big for swinging, for defending. It's also it's the main targets for the Gecko. It's also, you can sync it, or you can team it up with the Hayori to put one of these Ace or one of these Luffys or Sabos into life, and then play the corresponding kid. I keep saying Ace because when I played this in paper, like last spring, I ran an Ace as well in the deck. I ran it as I think I was playing this in paper before Rocket Luffy was a thing. So we didn't have these. These were basically Ace, and these were Little Ace. So, which is still a viable option if you want. But, so yeah. Moving on, we have Makino from Starter Deck 13. This is like a flex spot if you want to add more and you don't really like the Kuzans or this Kuzan or Nami. You could add more 2Ks. Makino. Most of the time it's just a 2K, but it's just a one drop that you can play it to add top or bottom card of your life. And then you can look at your life and rearrange them in any order. It's not a bad turn one, especially if you take a peek into your life and you see one of the Savos or Luffy's and you have the corresponding little one in hand. You can kind of cheat it out. One of your your big guys out sooner, giving your leader a boost for the rotation. It's just a good 2K. So Garp are running 4 copies. This is one of the searchers for the deck. Just a one drop, 2,000 power, 1K counter. So on play, you get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to one Sabo, Ace, or Luffy card with a cost of 5 or less, and then put it in your hand. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So this card here will find Sabo, Luffy, Little Sabo, Little Luffy, and Big Luffy. So great card, lots of targets. Now it's RNG, so there's a chance that you'll whiff on it, but most of the time it will find you something. So here we're going to go into the events. Kind of the same concept as GARP, the exact same ability as GARP. It's just a one-drop event version of it. Look at the top 5, find a 5 or one that costs 5 or less, Sabo, Ace, or Luffy, put it in your hand. It does have the trigger effect from life that you can activate its main ability, so we're running a total of 7 searchers for the deck. So, because finding those pieces are kind of crucial for making the deck work. And by the time you get to 10 Dawn, you're going to want to have, either these in the trash so that Gecko can bring it back, or these are in the trash so that you can use the leader effect and then deploy these out. And then we're running 2 copies of Rygo, Kingdom Come, whatever it's called. It's a 6-drop event where main you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters, then trash the top life cards so your life total becomes 1. This is like, if you got like a lot of life, this is last ditch effort to get your leader effect going. Sorry, guys. But most of the time, this is going to be when you're at like 1 life or no life. You're going to crack Rygo, get rid of their big boss monster or whatever they got out. Their Shanks, their Gecko, their whatever, their Jack. Whatever you're playing against, this is just a clean removal card for it. A lot of times you'll play this when you're at 1 life or no life, but it has a trigger effect as well. So from life, you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost equal to or less than you and your opponent's total life cards. In this deck, most of the time that trigger doesn't happen. But if, you might be able to take out a 4-drop or a 5-drop if this is like one of the first life. So don't be afraid to use it to get rid of early aggression because we need to go to the late game in order to secure our wins with the Luffy, being able to do the geckos and the chaining and keep cycling through our little ones with the big ones. Like I said, this is just the list that I copied from a winning list. I have some gameplay videos of it coming out with this exact list. But yeah, the Kuzans, I kind of like them. This Kuzan, hit or miss. I could care less one way or the other. If you like it, run it. If you don't like it, you can add another 2K. This Nami, this isn't like core to the list. It's a flex spot as well. I mean, it's okay. The on play usually only happens when Gecko brings it back. It is a cheap blocker. But I did see some lists that run the Shirahoshi from, I think, starter deck 14 maybe. It's the black blocker one with on play -4. I've seen a couple deck lists run that one. So there's like these 2 and this one are kind of flex spots. So you have like 3 flex spots and you can trim up this amount. But everything else is pretty standard to the deck. Like you kind of need them. But the good thing is this deck's fairly cheap to play in paper as well. Because you get a lot of this stuff in the starter deck. So if you were able to pick up the starter decks when they came out, or the singles are fairly cheap as well. And these got a reprint in the premium booster that came out. So these got a reprint. I think these might have got reprinted. I'm not 100% sure about these, but these stuff was like reprinted. These are fairly cheap now. So this deck is fairly affordable compared to when it first came out, when these were ridiculously expensive. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the gameplay videos. We're going to be doing Dofi, Shanks, Blackbeard, Bonnie, Purple Luffy. If I can get a Black Yellow Luffy mirror match, we'll do that, and then Lucci. I want to do the meta leaders versus meta leaders, kind of showing you where they kind of stand in the meta of OP09. And then I also have my rogue decks that I play, which there can all be found on my channel. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.